Are you guys looking for a relatively easy way to get a nice little revenue boost using your current Etsy business? Great. I'm sure you're interested in this. I can't imagine you not wanting a new strategy to increase revenue and being like, "No, I'm good. I make too much revenue already, and I'm not interested in this new strategy." Today, I want to give you this new way to get a nice little revenue boost using your current Etsy business and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to the Handmade and Beyond podcast. Glad to be back with you guys. I'm LL, your host and your guide through your Etsy journey. Thanks for tuning in today. Glad to be hanging out with you guys as always, giving you some tips and tactics and insight to help you with your Etsy and your handmade business. So today I got another good episode for you. I want to give you maybe not a new strategy, but I want to give you a way to increase revenue using your current listings, your current Etsy shop. What is this magical, mythical thing that I'm talking about? Well, it's cross listing. It's using your existing listings, your existing products, and cross listing them to new sales channels. So this is not a new thing, and a lot of people do already cross list, and maybe you haven't thought about cross listing, or maybe you just haven't wanted to start it for whatever reason. So I want to make it a little bit easier for you guys, and I want to give you some pros and cons of cross listing so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and you can decide if cross listing is right for you and your business. I also want to give you the cross listing platform and program that I use that has made my life a lot easier and made it a lot quicker and faster to be able to cross list to different platforms way easier and save a ton of time. So I want to give you all those things in today's episode to help you guys out. So this is something, if you can decide to do it, not do it. If you do want to do it, move forward with it, you can use this platform to help you do it a lot faster and save you a ton of time. Time is the only thing that we can't get back. Usually we don't have enough of it, so I'm always looking for ways to save time in my business because I have a million things to do. I'm running around in a million different directions. All right, so let's dive in, and I want to give you some cons first. And the reason I want to give you cons is so you can look at this objectively and not just do it because I'm saying that it is an option. You should never just do something because it is an option. This is an option that can help you increase revenue, but it's not right for everybody, and it may not be right for you at this particular time in your business. So that's why it's important to look at the cons as well as the pros. So the first con that I want to talk about is it is more work to do cross listing because you have to actually add other listings to other platforms. But it can be easier with your third party tools, which I'm going to give you and talk about in a little bit later in this episode. So, either way, even with the tools, it's more work, which is more time. And you may not have that much extra time to be able to cross list to different platforms. The next the next con is you have to learn other selling platforms, which is harder if you're not tech savvy. You may not be familiar, with selling on Shopify or eBay or Poshmark, these other platforms. So you have to learn the platforms, learn how they're used, learn their dashboards, learn how to actually fulfill orders. So that may be a little bit harder if you're not as tech savvy. It takes, again, more time to learn and pick up these other platforms. So that's kind of a big barrier to doing this as well. The other con is you actually not only have to learn these other platforms, you have to set them up and set up your selling profile, set up all that stuff that goes into it, your branding, your name, and they're all different. So they're all set up different ways. So you have to do different things for each one. Again, that takes more time, that takes more know-how. The next con is you have to then manage these platforms. Once you are making sales, you have to manage, looking at their stats, managing the sales that are coming in and fulfilling orders. So again, more time, more things to learn, more things to do. The next con, as we're moving right along, is not all sales channels may be right for you and your business. So there's a lot of different sales channels out there. Some you may do well, some you may not do well. You have to figure that out. And you may not want to start with a bunch of sales channels. Just because you can sell on 12 sales channels or however many there are doesn't mean that you should. And I recommend that you don't. You maybe want to expand to a couple at a time and kind of see how they do. And not all sales channels are going to be right for your niche. So just because you can sell on there doesn't mean that you should. And some sales channels you can't because you don't have the right products. So that's important to learn which sales channels are going to be right for you and your niche. The last con is a big one. This could distract you from your business, from your main Etsy business, especially if your shop is relatively new. If you don't have consistent sales on Etsy, you've only been doing this a couple of months, your Etsy shop isn't fully even set up yet, you don't really know the ins and outs of Etsy. Honestly, this is probably not a good thing or a good time for you to expand to different sales channels because you haven't really proved your concept or don't have a proof of concept yet on one platform, let alone multiple sales platforms. And there's a chance that if you don't know the ins and outs on Etsy, you're not making consistent sales, you're probably making some mistakes that are just going to be amplified or repeated in these additional sales channels. So if you're not getting sales on Etsy, moving to another platform, if it's too early, may lead to the same thing, not getting sales on this other platform. So you have to prove your concept. You have to prove that you can get sales on one platform before you start moving to all these other platforms. So it may be too early for you. So sit back and think, be your own judge and see kind of how you're doing. Do you really feel like your Etsy shop is built out to the fullest? Do you really know the ins and outs of it? And then now it may be a good time to kind of test out these other sales channels and increase your revenue by doing that. So those are the cons, and some of those are pretty daunting, big cons, but I think the pros can definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to cross-listing. And that's what I want to dive into now is the major pros of doing this and having this strategy in your business. So the first pro is a big one because with cross-listing, you can significantly increase how many potential buyers you reach. These audiences, each of these platforms have millions of people on there looking for products. So you could instantly double, triple, quadruple your potential audience reach by going to these other platforms. Yeah, and with that potential audience reach, will increase the potential buyers and then the potential revenue, which is ding, 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 what we all want. This is the reason that we would cross-list, is to increase the potential revenue. So if you do it successful, you could increase your revenue by 25%, 50%, 100%. You can double it. I've seen people do that. Not everyone does that. But I would say at a minimum, if you cross-list, you can increase your revenue somewhat. Doesn't mean it's going to be earth-shattering revenue. It may be, but you will at least get a couple more sales. And those couple more sales will help you. It may help you reinvest in your business. It may help you give you additional revenue that you can use for your business to buy new tools and stuff like that, or just alleviate some stress by having some extra funds in your bank account. So it's definitely a good thing. The other pro is you can reuse the listings that you already have and not have to create new stuff, new products, new stuff. So this is going to save you a bunch of time. You're basically just taking what you already have, your catalog of products, and just moving it to another platform and hoping that you can get more sales on that platform. So you don't have to reinvent the new stuff, reinvent the wheel. You're using what you already have and just duplicating it on the other platform to reach that new audience and drive in some more revenue. The other pro that a lot of people don't think about is you're going to have more data to work with to help you make future decisions. So maybe some listings don't sell well on Etsy, but you move them over to Mercari or eBay, and you have listings that do really good over there. Or you have listings that do good on eBay and Etsy. So that's giving you data to make future decisions. Maybe you want to so they're doing good on all these platforms. Maybe you want to create more stuff that's like those listings that are doing well. Or maybe they're not selling on any of the platforms. So maybe you want to stop doing stuff in that particular sub niche because it's not selling anywhere. So that's a pretty good proof of concept that people don't want what you're selling if you can't sell it on any platform. So it's giving you more data to make future decisions and kind of tell the story and give you a plan to follow if you're listening to what the data is telling you. So that's always a good thing. More data is always good if you're using it to your advantage. So basically, kind of wrap up all the pros. It just comes down to more lines in the water, which will reach more potential audience, which will give you more potential revenue. Will it always give you more revenue? No, not always. But I can honestly say, if you're giving this, if you're really trying to do this and trying to make this work, and putting enough time and energy into it, there's really no reason why you can't make some additional sales on at least some of these other platforms that are out there. So I would say it's potentially worth it's potentially worth a try if you're in the right place with your business. For instance, for me, I started out on eBay. I've been selling on eBay for over 20 years, and that's where my main business was built. And then I found Etsy, and I tested out things on Etsy, and my business blew up on Etsy. I backed off of eBay. Even though I built my entire business on eBay, Etsy did way better, so that's where I invested my time. So the same thing may happen to you. You may have built your whole business on Etsy, and then some other platform really blows up for you. You can continue to sell on Etsy, or you may back off and put all your eggs in another basket. And that's why it's important to kind of test these other channels out, kind of see what works and what doesn't work. All right, so now I talked about the pros and cons so you can make this decision. I want to give you the actual program that I use to cross list, which has saved me a ton of time and has made things a lot easier, because the biggest downfall, the biggest pitfall of cross listing is you have to actually copy all your information over, manually copy it over and then relist it, which takes a ton of time. So the program Lists Perfectly, which I'll have a link below, which will include a 30% off coupon. So you can basically get 30% off your first month. And you basically go to this link, you type in the code handmade30, you get 30% off your first month. So it'll save you a little bit of money your first month while you're testing this whole thing out. And I can assure you, if you're serious about cross-listing this program, you're going to like it. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So basically what it does is List Perfectly will allow you to copy your stuff over from Etsy and bring it into List Perfectly. And then you can decide which platform you want to then take those listings and copy those listings over to. There's 12 platforms. You're most certainly not going to use them all. The biggest ones are Mercari, Poshmark, eBay, Shopify, Facebook, Instagram. Those are the biggest ones. There's some other ones on there like Depop, which is for like fashion and clothing. So like I said, depending on your niche, you may not use all of these, but you have to decide which ones you want to use. I would say probably Poshmark and eBay are the best ones to start. And then you may want to expand to some other ones. So it'll copy your listings from Etsy, then you copy them right into these platforms. If you don't have an account, you're going to have to set up an account like through Poshmark or eBay. So you're going to have to go through that little bit of rigmarole setting up those accounts. If you already have those accounts set up, it's going to seamlessly copy it over. You're going to have to make a couple of tweaks just so that it fits for that platform. And then you're going to be able to just launch that listing live in those platforms. So it saves you a ton of time. You're not having to manually create this stuff. It's copying over all the information that you already have, making a few tweaks, and then popping it into these platforms. I sat down the other day and I did 48 listings. I copied 48 listings from Etsy to eBay in less than a half an hour. So it's very quick. If I was going to sit down and create those listings from scratch, it would have taken me probably 3 or 4 times as long to do that. So it's an easy way to copy over stuff fast and then relist it in these platforms. And then what's nice is once you copy stuff into List Perfectly, you can then decide later to copy those into those other sales channels if you want, because it's sitting in your List Perfectly account. The other thing that you can do is you can copy it directly from Etsy to eBay without even going through List Perfectly. They can just do that seamless transition. I personally like to put mine into List Perfectly because I can either tweak it or edit it in there, and then maybe later on decide if I want to expand it out to some different platforms, because it's basically a database of your listings in List Perfectly. And then you can decide, okay, later on I want to do it, send it out to these different platforms. but it's a lot easier to manage, I think, if you're putting it in the list perfectly. So use that code. There's a link below. So you can basically, I have a referral link below because I am a partner with them, because I really do believe this is a good company. They really care about their sellers. They want to make things as easy as possible for them. And then also you guys can get 30% off your first month when you're using that link and the code. All the information is below in the show notes, wherever you're watching or listening to this. That is it, guys. This is a great way to increase revenue. Again, if you're in the right spot to be able to do this and using the right tools to be able to save you time. Very inexpensive way. If you make one sale, it'll cover your list perfectly. Usually cover your list perfectly, monthly payment amount. It's an investment in your business and a very minimal investment to save you so much time. If you've ever tried to cross list before, it is a nightmare, and it takes up a ton of time. That's why a lot of people don't do it. So this is an easy way to be able to do that. So hopefully that helps you guys out if this is something you are interested in. But I'll be back really soon with another great episode for you guys. Have an amazing rest of the day.